All right, let's look at Charles Schwab. $76 stock. No, I think you have random bag holders and crazy people trading quantum. Future bag holders of America. Okay, Schwab's got 1,813,000,000 shares outstanding. So 138 billion market cap. Huge company. They started out as a retail brokerage, right? And then they intelligently pivoted. Okay, let's take a look at some of these details. Net new client assets, core net new client assets, and client assets. Okay. So that looks like they have 7 trillion. Going up to 8 trillion. And that went up to $10 trillion. So do you guys realize how much that is? 84 billion in large cap US equities on this list alone. Remember, we discarded a whole bunch of them. So if we discarded all these, that's another 18 billion. So it's about 100 trillion. Right? 100 trillion. They own 10%. They custody 10% of the value of US equities. 10 trillion in client assets. Wow. The Intel CEO mentioned quantum, so IonQ is up for that reason. Number of accounts has grown. Average account value is $208,000, now up to almost $300,000. It's the average Schwab account holder value. Clients are 90% invested. Friendly advice. Thanks, Alejandro. Do you have a reason? We don't do that over here, Bod Lond B. And you also have freedom of speech. So I don't know if this Bod Lond B. That's not how we behave over here, bro. All right, so 9 billion in net interest revenue. So they make interest by charging you to borrow money, and they pay interest because they got to borrow money to give you. So that makes sense. The net interest revenue has declined. Their borrowing cost has gone up a bunch, but it's been basically flat. Okay. So that's the bulk of their revenue is coming from just the spread on their cost of capital versus your cost of capital. Alejandro says AQ64 is next. What is AQ? You know, nobody buys this AQ bullshit, right? It's not a thing. Some April Fool's joke. AQ. Stop. All right, then you have asset management revenue. Asset management revenue is 4 billion. That grew to 5 billion. That grew to 6 billion. AQ is ion Q is kind of bullshit term that nobody buys. Even IonQ said they're going to retire it. Because it's such bullshit. Okay, trading revenue is only 3 billion. So their commissions, all that stuff is almost like insignificant compared to net interest. Well, they don't do anything with the client's assets. Schwab Intelligent Portfolios. What is that? I'm curious. Oh, okay. This is lame. It's a robo-advisor. That's not what I thought it was. IonQ is trash too, Alejandro. IonQ had to pivot from quantum computing to quantum networking, which is also not a real industry, because they were not going to make the revenue guidance. And they bought another fake company to make the revenue guidance. If you take out the acquisitions that they made, they would have had almost no quantum computing revenue because nobody uses their fucking machine. And the grant revenue is drying up. It's all obfuscation. The whole thing's zero. IonQ doesn't have any way to scale their systems. I mean, it's just a disaster. You can't run any programs on these things. We've tried. So they don't do anything. Darth Vader, are you asking about Verizon from half an hour ago? Obfuscators. I don't know if IonQ is the worst or not, but it's obviously a short. We're on Charles Schwab. I mean, the XXAI thing is totally normal. Oh, did they do a direct listing? I guess Newsmax did a direct listing. Anyway, I don't think quantum physics is bunk. IonQ is trash too. IonQ is very overvalued. They don't have a real business. They just were able to. They're playing Monte Carlo with their assets so that they could potentially get live a little longer to sell off all their stock. I don't think the orexin drugs are. I mean, there have been orexin drugs for sleeping, and there isn't much there. They never took off. Okay, so net interest revenue is half of their business. They also, I mean, the rest of it's a little more diversified: asset management, trading, banking, and other. But the heart of the business is still margin spread. That is where they make their money. They lend you margin loans and they borrow money, and that's it. They make the spread. Yeah, so Darth Vader, so it doesn't matter if the company is going to grow or not. If I said I'm going to give you $15, there's no growth. $15 spread over 3 years, 5, 5, and 5. Would you buy that for $60? No, of course not. It's overvalued. That's like buying IonQ. If I was going to say you can have 5, 5, 5 every day, every year on January 1st, you get $5 for 3 years. Would you buy that for $6? Yes, that's cheap. I don't care if the number's growing or shrinking. Here, watch this. Let's say it's $5, then $4, then $3. Oh no, the number's shrinking. It's a bad business. Would you buy that for $1? Of course you would. You're going to get a total of $12. So you buy it for $4. Sure. Would you buy it for $12? Well, no, I wouldn't, because I'm only going to get $12. I'm going to get that over time. So I'd rather have the $12 now. But would you buy it for $11? No, probably not. I could reinvest my $11 and do better. So at some point that's an equilibrium, and that's called the discount rate. So we buy stocks or bonds or any asset if they're cheap enough. Now, for some people, they're really stingy, and I recommend being this way, where you're only going to buy the cheapest, the finest, cheapest stocks, where that 543 payout, that's $12 over 3 years, maybe you want to buy that for, I don't know, $6. You want deep discounts. Yeah, Fartcoin is up too. People are willing to gamble today. Okay, so Schwab is 20 billion in revenue. Might be a little complicated to look at, but let's give it a shot. Okay, they have compensation and benefits as their primary cost there. Professional services, occupancy and equipment, advertising and market development. Not much. Communications, I'm not going to include depreciation, amortization, but I will include regulatory fees and other. It's a very high margin business. Wow. Who would have thought? 50% margins. Yeah, 10 trillion AUM. It's quite a lot. Okay, so earnings have actually been kind of lumpy, the way I look at it. Taxes. They have a preferred stock dividend. Okay, here's what I wanted. The balance sheet. 42 billion in cash. It's like segregated cash. Broker receivable. Client receivable. Securities. Held to maturity securities. It's also called debt. Bank loans. Okay. Okay, and now we have deposits. Federal Home Loan Bank borrowing. Okay, so I think the best way to look at this is ignore the segregated cash, the receivables, and the assets. Those all seem to be client assets, so I'm just going to take cash and subtract it by debt, and that's it. Everything else is all like client fungible. So I assume they have -3 in net cash. But, you know, I'm also tempted to take book value. I kind of look at it as more of a technology company than a bank. Yeah, it's shitco party day in the stock market. Let's look at cash flow. Huh. You see this, chat? See this shit? Remember, just like Goldman and these other guys, cash flow is kind of all over the place. So it's not like a traditional cash flow statement at all. So they're trying to put loans out, including margin loans, right? So they're happy the more loans they invest in, the more client assets they have is really kind of what we're trying to look at. I don't know if they've had massive customer exodus. Client assets have gone from 7 trillion to 10.1 trillion. And the number of accounts they've had has gone up 3 million. So you tell me, Duff Bush, I don't know. It seems like, I mean, the client assets are appreciating because of the market, right? In fact, they're underperforming the market a little bit. And the number of client accounts is not growing very much. I tried Thinkorswim yesterday. It's so bad. Really? Yeah, it just doesn't have good news system. It doesn't have any fundamentals or earning systems. It's not good for research. Maybe good for trading. But we can make a better system than that. Jesus Christ. Interactive sucks too. Don't worry about it. None of these systems are good for research. For trading, I think interactive is okay. Like I said, it's got almost a 4 beta. You know how crazy that is. Newsmax also running wild. Okay, I think we got an okay sense for Schwab. We at least learned that like interest revenue is a big thing for them. Interest is most of their income. They have some asset management from like ETFs and mutual funds. Trading isn't that big of a deal. Basically, you're doing 10 billion in EBITDA. You could also think about their 10 trillion in client assets. They're yielding yeah, don't trade small caps. Don't trade small cap biotech. This is just a merry-go-round. Yeah, that's not a... Don't trade anything less than 100 million market cap, especially if you're trying to gamify stupid stupid moves and things like that. Yeah, don't. No cannabis stocks. No cannabis stocks. So they are yielding 0.1% on their client assets. And that is their whole business. Can you believe that? They have $10 trillion of assets. No, James Bond, no. No. That's not a good thing. Yeah, we buy stocks for the long run. We don't buy stocks for the pop in market makers loading. Get out of here. Go to some boiler room. We don't want your kind here.